Welcome to the first episode of the All-American College Football Show. I'm Big Cass with Joseph, with Aaron, and not today, family emergency, Logan, the big Bama fan. It's going to be fun, impactful show for college football. Great way to start it off.
Yes.
It's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, I'm super excited to get into it. I'm glad that we're getting back into it together, Josh, and I'm glad that we have Joseph and along with us here tonight, and looking forward to having Logan on with us next week.
Yeah, usually AP and I did Big Ten. We get to throw in Logan with some SEC and that South stuff, and then Joseph, the guy who tends to have 10 different favorite teams, but they're not. None of them are in the Power Five. He's going to be our non-Power Five guy, guru.
You got to give him that credit at least.
Yeah, the non-Power
just for this year, AAC and then Big 12 next. It's all right.
Our non-Power Five guru is going to be Joseph because he's all about those Cincinnati Bearcats coming off a playoff berth. He's got to be excited down there in Cincinnati. But
yeah, congrats to them, man.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm a big supporter of UC. I almost went to school there, so it was really awesome to see them have that success last year.
I'm excited to see what Evan Prater and all these new guys stepping up can do. You know, a local kid from Columbus, from DeSales High School, coming in playing the secondary.
It's definitely going to be a lot of fun. Joseph also going to throw in a little bit FCS if we have time, because I know he's all about that Montana State Grizzlies.
Bobcats.
The Bobcats or whatever. I call them. That's, yeah, whatever.
Isn't Montana the Grizzlies?
Yeah, Montana.
Yeah.
The Bobcats.
The Grizz.
But latest news today, did you guys see College Game Day is going to be Thursday night, the Backyard Brawl in Morgantown, West Virginia, for West Virginia and Pitt. When this a long time coming for this rivalry to bring back up.
I actually did not see that, but yeah, that's super exciting, man. Anytime teams in that region can get together, from the Big East days, you're talking Cincinnati, you're talking obviously Pitt and West Virginia. Like whenever those three teams got together and played each other, it was always so much fun to watch. And of course, the Backyard Brawl is just a historic rivalry, and I'm super glad that it's being brought back.
Exactly. The Backyard Brawl. I mean, Cincinnati was big rivals with Pittsburgh. But, I mean, they haven't played them in a long time. It'd be great to see that rivalry back. But
it's going to be a lot of fun, especially like, you know, we haven't seen it in a minute. It's been a while. West Virginia's been in the Big 12. Pitt's been in the ACC for quite some time. So it's going to be a fun, and especially off, you know, this news coming off the the day after Pat Narduzzi decided, he says that Pitt would win the Big Ten every year.
Boy,
Big Ten, dude, you granted, Kenny Pickett didn't play in this game, but either did Kenneth Walker the third or whatever.
Yeah,
you got beat by Michigan State in the Peach Bowl.
Did I send that to you, or did you send that to me?
I sent that to you. I sent that to everybody.
Yeah. But I think I saw it on Twitter earlier in the day too, because I'm in a huge Penn State group chat. I mean, you see my shirt, and of course we don't like Pitt, and you know, I already think Pat Narduzzi is a clown. I mean, he's a good coach. I will give him that credit. He is a good coach. He did great things as a defensive coordinator at Michigan State. He's done a very good job at Pitt so far. But know your role, bro. Like, you won the ACC, yes. Congratulations. You went to a New Year's Six Bowl. Congratulations. You lost that New Year's Six Bowl. You don't give credit to the fact that Clemson was down. You ignore the fact that the ACC has been I don't want to come on here trashing any conference, but I mean let's be real. The ACC has been down, and I mean you look at your past few years against not Penn State, but just Big Ten schools in general. Like, what are you talking about when you made that comment? Like, what seriously? What are you talking about?
And it's coming off like two games earlier prior to that. Ohio State threw for 595 yards. granted, yeah, Kenny Pickett didn't play, but you still had the Blinikoff Award winner Jordan Addison, and you still lost. And the fact of the
Right.
matter is, it fixed your defense, man. Like if you can sit there and say you're going to win in the Big Ten, which is a defense, a defensive, historically defensive conference, fix your defense. You can't win 45-43 to Western Michigan. I'm sorry, and expect to win the Big Ten.
Not win, they lost. They lost to Western Michigan.
Oh yeah.
Shoot. I mean, come on.
I mean,
again, like I said, know your role, man. He's a great coach, but he makes some clown comments from time to time, and that was one of them.
It's been the year of the off season of coaches making clown comments. I mean, you got Jimbo Fisher mouthing off to Nick Saban back out to, Jimbo Fisher. I wish Logan was on here to just describe that as a Bama fan. You got Marcus Freeman of, poking the bear of Ohio State right now with his comments. When granted he graduated from Ohio State, he had to go on 97.1 a couple weeks ago just to completely describe what he was talking about when it came to.
Really?
Yeah, he went on the Morning Juice with Bobby Carpenter, his former teammate at Ohio State, and basically had to redirect his comment because the comment about online classes, it's a very, especially when you're put the first game as your, I don't count the Fiesta Bowl as this first game. I mean, you do, but you don't. He only had 3 weeks as a head coach. You can't prepare. You get thrown into the mix as a head coach. You can't prepare to play a game like that. But you have had all off season. You've talked twice, and you're playing Ohio State. Oh, let me relate to that.
Game one.
Game one. Even though I as diehard Buckeye fan as I am, I still think it's ridiculous. The Ohio State University, you got to say now, is your first game of the season. Like you're poking a team that's already going to play with a chip on their shoulder. They lost to their rival for the first time in 10 years. They didn't make it to the playoffs. They're being looked at as a finesse team. You shouldn't have been poking the bear. I mean,
all right, Josh, first off, I want to say you don't need to say the when saying Ohio State, okay? We just need to clear that up right now. You don't need to say the.
I mean, I get what they did because, the Ohio State, but I think it's goofy.
Didn't they get it rejected 2 years ago or something like that?
I thought that's what I thought anyway. I guess Penn State's going through something of the same thing right now. I don't even know really what level it's on. I just saw something today about they're going through a trademark issue and blah, 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 blah. I ignored it because I really don't care because it's stupid. Like a school should have the rights over their own name and image.
Right. So we are 37 days from college football officially starting, and that's Nebraska and Northwestern in Dublin. You can kick off here, but I believe it's got to be a night game over there. Your thoughts as week zero? Should there be bigger matchups than Nebraska and Northwestern, or do you like that? Do you guys like that?
Well, I think it's a solid way. It's an interesting way to start the season. When you talk about those two schools, it's obviously amongst their fan base, but really there's a lot of intrigue around those two schools, specifically Nebraska, of course. With the hiring with Scott Frost and them being underwhelming the past few years. Last year they were in my opinion, and I'm sure a lot of people's opinions, I think we can probably all agree here, they were the best 3-9 team in the history of football. I mean, literally, they were in every game. They get a couple bounces to go their way. I mean, you're talking about a 1 maybe 2 loss team for real. Like they were in every game. And of course, we know what Scott Frost did down at UCF. And Northwestern is just one of those teams. Josh, we talked about it back when we had our Big Ten podcast. Northwestern is one of those teams that every few years they get lightning in a bottle.
It just seems the way the trend is lately with Northwestern is every other year, because if you think about it, it's an even year too. It seems like the even
Yep.
years for Northwestern, they're pretty good. I mean, they went to the Big Ten championship in 2018. They went to the Big Ten championship in 2020. I mean,
Yep.
it is one of those things for Northwestern. Joseph, Nebraska Northwestern, it ain't the caliber of teams that we saw in 2019 with Miami and Florida, and I think that had to do with the 150th year of college football. But do you think that they could have at least, you had the Nebraska Northwestern? Do you think they could have got some mid powerhouses to be that
Well,
night game for that night?
Here's how I'm seeing it. I'm seeing it as you got two teams in the Big Ten playing on a, I guess, big stage for week 0. Let's get college football kicked off the right way with a big game in a big stadium. I mean, I don't know if I'd take it over to Dublin, Ireland, maybe play like they do their ChickFilA kickoff game down in Atlanta. I'm not saying put those two teams in it, but like I'd find something cool like to play. Like, I mean, with the preseason in the NFL, they go to Canton and play every year. Like do something historic that way. Like,
So basically, what you're thinking is, I don't know if you guys remember. You might remember. I know in '95, Ohio State played the week before everybody else started. It was in the Meadowlands. It was the Kickoff Classic against Boston College. They played Miami the week before, like kind of like week 0. They did it with Texas Tech the year they won the national championship, the Pigskin Classic, even though it was in Columbus. Do you think that the ChickFilA Kickoff Classic that's in Atlanta between, I think was it Georgia and Oregon this year? And then
I think so.
And then the one that's
seen it.
and then who's
Yeah,
in
it's Georgia
and
and Oregon.
Yeah, and then somebody's in Dallas. Is the Dallas, the Kickoff Classic? Do you think those two games should be the week 0 games like they used to be, like the Ohio State Boston College back in the day?
What about playing, like, I mean, they play at Wrigley Field. I mean, at later in the year.
I think
why don't we,
I think
not baseball stadiums, but like, you know what I mean? Like, let's do something cool like that. I mean, you got Candlestick Park, which I think is.
What about Las Vegas?
Yeah, Vegas.
That'd be cool.
The nice stadium out there.
Yeah, like they put all this money, or the new SoFi Stadium in LA. I mean, you've got all these new stadiums. Why are we going overseas to play this? Like, are they trying to expand the fan base of college football over to
exactly? That's exactly
like they
what
are
they're
in
trying
the
to do.
NFL.
It's just like the
It's marketing.
It's
money.
just like the conference realignment, which goes as a good segue here.
Mhm.
Conference alignment. We know UCLA is going to the Big Ten. It was announced a couple weeks ago, a couple years ago. Oklahoma, Texas. There's a lot of things being talked here and there about what should happen, what's going on. The latest news I heard, and this is from Zach Smith's podcast, Menace to Sports. I know a lot of people, he's been spot on pretty much a lot of his takes. Something was proposed
but people's reservations on him, they're
yeah.
All right.
But he's pretty spot on when it comes to. It's been being told that I've been reading. Yeah, it's been a lot, because all eyes are on Notre Dame and what they're going to do, obviously. But I feel like and he said the same thing. The ACC is the one to watch, because I don't think they're going out without a fight. They want Notre Dame hard. They want Notre Dame
also,
so bad.
I've been seeing that North Carolina, Virginia, I think Miami, and there was another school, all trying to go into the SEC to make this huge 20-team conference.
Which that came later.
It
came later that it was kind of false. False.
Well, yeah, especially for those schools, because I mean, two of the three that you named, Joseph, are seriously linked to the Big Ten.
Let me guess. North Carolina is not going anywhere without Duke. I'm sorry. Florida State is not going anywhere without Clemson or Miami.
And that's the thing. North Carolina and Duke make perfect sense for the Big Ten. Absolute perfect sense. They're both. I'm pretty sure they're both AAU schools. I mean,
yeah, they are.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and obviously they're. We all know the rivalry there, and of course it adds to basketball as well.
Honestly, as much
that's the thing. You want to beef your overall brand. I mean, of course, football is the moneymaker. But it's also nice to help out the other sports too. I mean,
honestly, to save, like we talked about a lot, to save these traditions, to save the pageantry. I know it's all about money. It makes more sense to have Notre Dame go to the ACC because they're already in everything but lacrosse, hockey, and football, right? Them to go ACC, then that creates, okay, Clemson's got, if you're Clemson, Florida State, Miami, and you see Notre Dame join the Big Ten, I mean the Big Ten, you're going to the SEC. Now, Notre Dame says, no, if we're going to join a conference, it's ACC. If you're Clemson, Florida State, Miami, you're like, okay, we're staying put. We're staying right here in the ACC. Now it's Big 12, Pac-12. What are you going to do? Like, I think eventually Arizona State, Colorado, Utah, they're going to the Big 12. I think we're going to end up getting Stanford, Washington, maybe Washington State, and Oregon. I think that's what's going to end up with the Big Ten. I really do. People are like, well, why Washington State? Well, I was like, oh, you got to grab Washington. I mean, because if we don't get Notre Dame, we're getting those 4 schools. I mean, and if we do get Notre Dame, Stanford's it's Cal, not Washington State. I'm sorry. Stanford, Cal, Oregon, and Washington is who eventually I think the Big Ten is going to get.
See,
if Notre Dame goes ACC.
All right. Yeah. If Notre Dame goes ACC. But if Notre Dame comes up to the Big Ten, which I disagree with you on the aspect of the preservation of history of college football, because if Notre Dame came to the Big Ten, you're reviving yearly Michigan Notre Dame, Michigan State Notre Dame.
Purdue.
We all know Ohio State and Notre Dame is a good matchup.
Purdue Notre Dame.
Penn State and Notre Dame is a great matchup. Purdue Notre Dame, of course.
USC Notre Dame.
Exactly.
Yeah,
it makes too much sense.
It does.
Games.
Yes, it makes too much sense.
But the ACC is also looking at that NBC contract because their contract is almost up with the ESPN. That's the big key right there.
There's also rumors that the Big Ten is headed towards a TV kind of package deal that's going to have them with NBC, Peacock, and of course keep them with Fox and Big Ten Network. But I mean, we'll see what happens out of that. But the point I was making, if you add Notre Dame, right, it would make perfect sense to have, and we Josh, you and I talked about it in extent a few weeks back when USC and UCLA first broke out here. It would make perfect sense to add 3 more West Coast teams. So if whether you want that to be Stanford, Oregon, and Washington, or Cal, Oregon, Washington, or Cal, Stanford, Oregon, whatever you want to make it, add 3 more West Coast teams. That way you have 1 pod of 5, and then you figure out the other 3 pods of 5, and you have your 20-team super conference. And I think it would make sense to obviously have Notre Dame in a pod with Michigan and Michigan State.
Question here. This is for the non-Power 5 guy here and the FCS guy. Schools like North Dakota State, Montana, can you see them jumping into the FBS because of this matter? Think about the money. If I'm the Big 12, why aren't you on the phone with North Dakota State right now? Like,
well, I mean, like you said, James Madison just joined. Who'd they join? The
Sun Belt.
The Sun Belt, yeah. And then you got teams jumping in. I mean, I'm a huge fan of NCAA 14, whatever. That's a whole nother subject. But like, I'm looking for these teams on here, and I'm getting my FCS West Bobcats and FCS East Dragons or whatever. It's like
the Snakes.
Wait a minute here, yeah. Like
you're going through the schedule, like you're playing the schedule, and there's like it says, "Oh, Ohio State's playing FCS South," but so is Penn State at the same time. It's like, how is that possible?
But yeah, like North Dakota State, like I mean, they're
Boise did it.
Yeah, right. Like it's just one of those things. I mean, I'm tired of seeing North Dakota State winning like year in and year out. Like they're the Alabama of the FCS, like join somebody like Mountain West. It doesn't matter. Like
it's like
they're bragging like, oh, look, we won. And
it's like Mount Union. It's like the Mount Union Purple Raiders, like up here with their 95 national championships, but yet they don't want to join Division One FCS football.
And I'm glad that you brought that up, Josh, because of course there's population limits and stuff like that might restrict a school for like Mount Union jumping up, but it could create a power vacuum that there are some huge D3 schools out there that are really, really good. And I do believe that we will eventually see those Dakota schools jump up.
Yeah, I do too.
Because I'm actually shocked that they haven't yet. I'm shocked that James Madison was the first one because for the past decade and a half, it's been, I guess decade, it's been the Dakota schools winning. And James Madison has always been right there. They've always been
you got to think too. South Alabama, Appalachian State, all these Old Dominion, they all
Coastal Carolina, all them guys.
North Dakota State was still winning these, and all these other schools jumped ship before them.
And people will argue that it's not viable because they're a Dakota school, dude. Boise State, like they jumped up. I mean, I know it was a long time ago, but bro, you got a major school in freaking Idaho.
Something to brag about, you know what I mean? Like I'm playing Notre Dame every year. I'm playing, whoever every year because I'm joining this big conference instead of playing Youngstown State Penguins, and it's like, okay, or the Sam Houston State Bobcats or Bearcats?
Yeah, Sam Houston State is another one that could possibly jump up. Sam Houston State has been a really good program for the past however many years, and they're in Texas too. Yeah. So if the Big 12 gets into a bind at some point where they need some more schools, Sam Houston State might get a call. Those Dakota schools need a call. You mentioned Montana
State, South Dakota State, South Dakota.
So between West Fargo, North Dakota, and Fargo, North Dakota, there's 160,000 people in that city, like between the two, Fargo and West Fargo. Mm-hmm. I'm looking up Iowa City, Iowa population.
Mm-hmm.
70. They have less. Iowa City, Iowa has less people than North Fargo, North Dakota. North Dakota State's beat Iowa. They've beat Minnesota.
Yeah.
Why aren't you in the Big 12?
Yeah.
Like, why? I mean,
I fully agree.
That's the thing. Like, if we want to do all these pods, like these huge super conferences, let's get those schools to come in and the Big 12 is the Big 12.
Try to save the Pac-12. Try to save the Big 12.
Save all these conferences and let's make every one of these big conferences the Power Five. Let's make a Power Five of 20
and it's
teams.
not even those schools.
And I guarantee it, they could beat the New Mexico States and the of the world. I mean, they've already proven that they can beat Iowa and Minnesota. Like, I mean, maybe not this year, but heck, they've got two. They're about to have two starting quarterbacks in the NFL right now.
And we should put it like this. I don't mean that those schools are just going to immediately get straight caught up to a Power 5 conference. But what will happen is the Mountain West, if that even still exists. It does. I don't know. I'm acting stupid.
I think conference alignment. Delete that part, Josh. I think conference alignment. It's going to be.
It's going to be crazy. You're going to have Mountain West schools jumping up. You're going to and then you're going to need to fill those voids for those conferences.
My question for the both of you.
Perfect ones to hit up.
Do you think the NCAA dropped the ball by not expanding the playoffs, and now it's going to cause these super conferences?
Listen to this. Like I said about making the 20-team conferences. Let's say we get 60 20-team conferences. You get 120 schools playing for 4 spots in the college football playoff. You know what I mean? Like,
initially you have honestly, you do have 129 schools playing for 4 spots right now.
Right, but I'm saying if we add these conferences going away, you can save yourself by calling AP said, like, let's call North Dakota State and save the Mountain West, the Pac-12. Like, you know what I mean? Like, build. Like,
I think
it's more of a fan base, and then your game's going over to Dublin, Ireland. That means something. Like, wow, this is really big over there. Like,
I do think that the NCAA kind of dropped the ball a little bit by last year not expanding. I mean, they were already good. The conferences were already going to expand. I think if the NCAA would have came out with at least a 16 playoff, it would probably put a cold pack on the conference expansion for a little while.
And killing why is there always two SEC teams? Why is there always two? You know, like, and it's teams getting
initially
left out
initially
such,
what it is the SEC right now, arguably so, they have the most national championships in the last 20 years. They think they're the kings of college football. They want everybody. They want the most money, and that's
the NCAA not expanding the college football playoffs, even the 6 teams. They missed their opportunity to save possibly the Pac-12. Now, I know, the schools in the Pac-12 yearly right now get paid a lot less than the SEC schools and the Big Ten schools. But when you open up 2 more spots for a possible playoff, we know what money the playoff generates. It benefits the conference greatly. When you open up those 2 more spots, man, you could probably go back and look at the history of the playoff rankings. There's been quite a few times where the Pac-12 could have made the playoffs. I know they made it the first time and with Washington, but
Oregon,
I'm pretty sure
Oregon.
Yeah, I know Oregon the first time,
and then Washington.
Yeah. Yep.
Well, the thing is with the big, everybody's like, oh, the Pac-12 is garbage. Like, if it's what the Pac-12 does in football is what the Big Ten does in basketball. You have all these good teams, and they beat each other up all year long, and then their records look horrible. But if you go back and look at the track record, it's like, okay, this team beat so-and-so, and then you go all the way down, and it's like, wow.
Honestly, the Pac-12,
this big school too.
The Pac-12 has been more successful in the playoffs than the Big 12, because the only Big 12 school that's made the playoffs is Oklahoma.
Yep.
I mean, it's
and a Big 12 school hasn't made the championship, have they?
No, they've all
Oregon made it the first year.
Oklahoma's lost every single time.
Cincinnati made it last year, so don't forget. Oh wait,
but seriously, if the NCAA opened up 2 more spots for a playoff, that would have possibly saved the Pac-12 because
least 2 more spots. Yeah,
there's been quite a few years where a Pac-12 team could have made it, and
and I think 6. I think
the money could have saved them.
I think
more
6
TV contracts.
I think 6 would have been a wonderful start because your first 2 seeds got a first round bye, and then you played in the semifinal. I do like our pod idea. If you do every 4 20-team conferences, you initially you're expanding the season potentially by 1 game, but what you do is you have your 4 pods to a conference semifinal, a conference final, and then boom, there's your 4 playoff teams.
Yeah. And then each team, like these conferences, each team gets an automatic bid to play in, and then you get one other team that's good, but it's do they deserve a spot? You automatically get a bid if you win your conference championship.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then that's no more, oh well, we should have made it, or this team should have made it. You get your automatic bid, you win your games, do your homework, and you're in, and then run your mouth later when you lose or win against whoever you're playing.
I can name 3. Okay, if you want to, and if it initially kind of be like NFL style, I can name 4 teams right off the bat that won the Super Bowl as wild cards. Giants twice, Steelers once, and those are just the ones that come to mind. I mean, and the Bengals, they were a 4 seed last year and went to the Super Bowl.
He said, I can name 4 teams. It gives me 3.
I gave you. I actually technically gave you 2, but 2. I could.
Yeah. But no.
4 times.
Here's the way I see it heading. You're gonna have 4 20-team super conferences, right? no matter how the conferences want to divide themselves, come up with their own scenario to crown a champion. I think, and Josh, we talked about it and we agreed to it. I think the best way to do it is to separate 4 pods of 5 in your 20-team conference.
Yep.
Every year you play each team in your pod, and then you play a whole nother pod, because that's 5
Kind of
teams.
like the NFL does.
And
with
you
their
rotate
division.
it every other year.
And you rotate it every other year, so you have a home and home.
Every 2
That's
years.
your
get the home
9.
and home,
Yeah. Every 2 years, so you can have a home and home.
For instance, real quick.
But then the winner of each pod goes to the conference playoff, quote unquote.
Yeah.
Because there's 4 winners of a pod. So you have the conference semifinal and conference final. The winner of that goes to the actual NCAA playoffs, the final 4 teams.
Yeah.
Now, that is sustainable, because nobody can complain if they're not in the team, if they're not in the field of 4. You had a full playoff for your conference, and you didn't win.
For instance, real quick, this is my proposed Big Ten, and this is before I said I thought Notre Dame would go to the ACC. Okay, the East: Ohio State, Penn State, Michigan, Rutgers, Maryland. Central: Michigan State, Notre Dame, Indiana, Purdue, Illinois. Midwest: Wisconsin, Northwestern, Minnesota, Iowa, Nebraska. West: USC, UCLA, Stanford, Washington, Oregon. Okay, those are the East would play everybody every year. Rightfully so. Ohio State should never not play Penn State and Michigan ever. Like, those are the 2 teams that they always should play.
Well, I mean, yeah, I agree with you, but we could probably use a year off or 2 from you guys.
I mean, they would play, okay, every 2 years they would play the Central, and then they switch the Midwest and then the West. Then you could break it up into 4 brackets. The winner of the East plays the winner of the Midwest. The Central would play the winner of the West. The winner of the West, because if you're looking at it, you kind of want to do set up. Oh, okay. If Notre Dame wins the Central, Ohio State wins the East, USC wins the West, Wisconsin wins the Midwest. Let's do Ohio State, Wisconsin, Notre Dame versus USC, and then hopefully we get Ohio State, USC for the Big Ten championship. Or yeah. I mean, initially.
Can you imagine what that would do for recruiting? I mean, we have NIL and all that, but could you imagine what that would do for recruiting? Playing the same teams every year in your pod to be the best in your pod, and then move on to semifinals and all that stuff, and then play in the CFP. Like, you don't have your recruiting wars. I mean, you still do, but it's not as bad as it would be without this. You know what I mean? Like, you're not playing Rutgers and Maryland every year. You're playing
You'd still play
Michigan
Rutgers and Maryland
and Penn
if you're
State.
right.
Yeah, exactly. But you know what I mean? Like, you're guaranteed these teams every year.
All I know is I'm looking forward to that November 8th game in the cold. USC travels to Rutgers for a 3:30 kickoff with Brandon Gaudin and some former all Big Ten linebacker that thinks he knows what he's talking about on Big Ten Network. That's what I'm really looking forward to. Fellas, we're about running out of time this week. We'll hopefully get Logan back next week. Next week, we're going to dive into this season some more. We're going to talk everybody. We're going to do like the Herbie Awards, the preseason Herbie Awards. All of us are going to give our 3 finalists for every major award this year. And actually, let's do 2 finalists and a sleeper.
We should do a fun one too.
Three finalists.
Great
and
guy
one
year
sleeper
of award
of every award. Heisman.
We should do
Kickoff,
Yeah, the big ones for sure. But we should like do something fun and give us your top stadiums or top environments, mascots, something like that. Just one fun one in there.
Yeah. How about we do how about this? No, that'd be the following week. Actually, no, because we'll be diving into the conference previews. So next week we'll do the player awards, and then top 5 preseason matchups that we want to see this year that are must see. You have to lock in on the TV, and they can't be conference games. They have to be non-conference.
Yeah, the non-con.
Because conference games make sense. Oh, yeah, Auburn, Alabama, Michigan, Ohio State. Like, you know.
Come on, bro. Obviously.
Like, your top 5, I can tell you right now, I guarantee all of us should probably have that big-time matchup that's going to happen in Columbus September 3rd.
Of course.
Of course. Maybe the backyard brawl be in there. I like Penn State driving. This is what I laugh, and I'm going off on a laugh.
I'm planning on going.
I'm going off on a laugh here. Each of us give us something funny that we've seen so far. I'm going Auburn hosting an orange out against Penn State this season. That is my most laughable thing I've seen all off season. An orange out against Penn State.
I'm kind of gonna play off the years. So one of my guys in my group chat, I forget who it was, pointed out that everybody, not everybody, but like 4 out of our 5 or 6 road games this year, the school that we're playing is doing a color out. We got Michigan. I think you might have pointed it out to me too, Josh. We got Michigan doing a maize out.
Yep.
Auburn doing an orange out. Maryland. They're probably going to do no. We're at home against Maryland. I can't even think of the other ones, but I know like everywhere we're going, we're getting colored out.
Real quick, Joseph, you're funniest. We got under less than a minute.
I mean that orange out's pretty wow.
So we all agree
the orange white out.
We all agree the orange out is dumb. So check us next week. We're going to put this up on YouTube. Have a great night, everybody.
Take care.
See you guys.